that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graham Spice, and Glenn Cowie, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur with both the match attending and international supporters' view. How you doing, Glenn?
I'm good. I'm excellent. Just off air with our guest that I'll introduce in a moment is in America. I'm enjoying the 4-day weekend here in Australia. It's bank holiday Monday today. It was bank holiday Friday on Friday for the Easter long weekend. So yeah, I'm good, mate. And particularly thrilled as we get into it, a very un-Ange performance away to Frankfurt. But before we do that, as I mentioned, we've got a guest. It's my good mate, Jeremy Oster. We've had a few on from Denver. And Jeremy, how are you, mate? Good to have you on.
Good, mate. Glad to be on the show with you. Been about time. Been waiting for you to ask me, but here we go. I'm here.
Well, you notice I waited to ask you when we had actually a good result to discuss, and we're on the cusp of maybe something special with Spurs.
They've been few and far between this season, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, I truly appreciate it, because rather than having the anchor of misery dragging me down for the week, as we have been for months, I actually felt happy this week. What's this feeling? I'm not used to it.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah, indeed. But look, I won't age you, Jeremy, but maybe take us a little way back on why Spurs, and how did you become a fellow victim of supporting this lovely club?
Well, you can only blame the family. It's hereditary, isn't it, really? These things can only blame them. So I grew up in London, of course, and my family, mother, father, grandfather, all Tottenham, and they weren't mad about football, but they had season tickets, so they would go here and there. My grandfather used to go a lot more, and I basically just started getting into football when I was very, very little, very young. My first team was actually Manchester City, to believe it or not, purely because I liked the colour of their top. That was it. That's how old I was at the time and sophisticated. I liked the colour. So anyway, my dad said, right, when they come to town, I'll take you when they play Tottenham, and you can see what it's like to support a home team. I'm like, brilliant. So I must have been about, 6 or 7 or something like that. He took me. And as soon as anyone who knows the old White Hart Lane, you kind of walk up and you go up the stairs. And then as soon as you come down the stairs, you kind of see the green of the grass and the huge stadium around you. And when that hits you, it's like, it's all over. That's it. This is my team. I love it. And you hear the crowd noise, everything.
He knew that would be the case as well.
Yeah, I wasn't
I bet
exactly
the same
fighting
thing
at
happened to
that
him when
point.
he went as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and funny enough, we lost that day 3-1. I still remember Manchester City. We lost 3-1, but I walked in there a Man City fan, albeit a very young, inexperienced. I don't know anything about football other than I like it. And within a minute, I was a Tottenham fan and walked out of there Tottenham for life inflicted. So yeah, this is the way it's been. And I used to go every week whenever I could growing up. Used to sneak out of school to go occasionally, and whatever was happening, I tried to be involved in it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, great stuff. And any recent standout memories? Like we've had obviously the Poch era, we've had Martin Jarl, we started watching, gosh, it would have been when we demolished Arsenal in the semi-final of the League Cup. It was about that time, wasn't it, that we met and we started to watch games. But any memories that jump out to you of recent-ish times?
Not the last few years, to be honest. Quite honestly, I mean, it's just COVID. The biggest thing for me is I haven't even seen the new stadium yet. I haven't been. I've driven past it when I was there last summer, but I was in the summer. So I have not even been to the new stadium yet, which is definitely on my list of things that has to be done, of course. So since the pandemic, I really haven't had a chance to go back and see a game. So it's really been a while. I mean, most of my recent experiences, I guess, were with you. Cup finals and that kind of thing. Carling Cup final. Was it the last time we went to a game together? Was that the Chelsea one?
Yeah, when we lost to Chelsea. Yeah, Pochettino's first season. Correct. Yeah.
I was there for that one as well.
Yeah,
miserable bloody fixture that was. But what can it's always miserable against Chelsea, isn't it?
I remember that match walking back down Wembley Way. Vladimir Chiriches was in the crowd walking next to me, and I looked at him and he looked at me and he just went, because he'd been shit that season and he was left out the squad completely, but he'd been at the game, so it was my one memory of that match. The rest of it I blanked out.
I remember there was a bit of trouble walking down Wembley Way on the way out of the game as well. There was a bit of a scuffle going on. There was a whole bunch of mayhem as usual.
Yeah, the same with the Man U semi as well. The FA Cup semi-final, it all kicked off afterwards as well. They get everyone together far too soon.
Yeah,
They do.
Indeed.
I still hate the fact that the semi-finals are played at Wembley. Wembley should be the final only. It should be the special place, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Especially with the stadiums that are available to the FA now as well, right? Even if you go back when it was like Hillsborough or Villa Park, which are fine grounds, by the way, or Old Trafford, but it's like you could have them. You could even have it at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, right?
Yeah,
as a neutral venue. It's huge. So yeah, couldn't agree more. But FA Cup semi-finals, not something that we're in, but very much in a Europa League semi-final. How did you find the game, Graham? Did you watch it? I know you watched it live. I did not, because it was 5 a.m. here, and it was Good Friday, so I took the opportunity to watch it on delay with not knowing the score. But how was your viewing experience, Graham? You watched it at home, mate?
Yeah, I was a bit anxious about the game because I didn't think that we'd done enough in the first game. I really thought that we needed to have been ahead after the first match, so I was a bit nervous about it. But in the end, it was a really good performance. I thought, weirdly, I think I put in the notes, it's very un-Ange-like. It was a far more compact, far less expansive performance. A lot of graft, a lot of grit from the defence especially, and a lot of yards covered by the midfield as well. I didn't think we looked that great up front, to be honest. I think that we were a bit lightweight. I thought Tell had quite a good game.
I thought so too. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, Brennan Johnson, if he doesn't score the tap in, then he's a passenger, right?
Yeah, which it was again. Yeah.
I can't knock it. What a really good performance away at a team that hasn't lost there for about 3 years.
And let's not discount the tricky atmosphere that was. It sounded it. It was very intense for those players to go get a result in. I found things like we had Vicario going long, for goodness sake, which never happens. And even towards the final knock-ins of the game, we actually had players going to the corner and holding the ball up. I was like, what is this un-Ange ball I'm watching? One thing I will touch on, and Jeremy, I'm keen to get your view, but there's been a lot said about Maddison's bravery to go in and get the head and got taken out. But I actually thought it was really clever. Like I thought he kind of read that situation perfectly. I think he knew he could get there, and the keeper maybe couldn't. So he's like, well, I'm going to maybe get clattered here, but that's probably going to be a foul, and it was, and we got a pen. So great effort by Maddison to get something on that. I'm glad he's okay. Good pen, though, by Solanke. Really good pen to put us one up. But, Jeremy, did you watch live? That would have been, lunchtime for you, right?
Yeah, well, I watched it. I watched it in the shop, in the store. So Melissa has to endure my screaming and yelling and doing whatever. And if there's customers in there, I don't care. It's just sometimes, unless it's... You have to spend an awful lot of money with me to get me to take away from the TV screen for that one. I've had to apologize to customers before for doing these things. But, life gets in the way, doesn't it? Yeah. So, yes, I watched it in the store. I was able to focus on it. It was actually a very quiet day. It was a crappy day weather-wise here, so it was perfect. There was nobody out, so I could feel like I could really focus on it. And I have a question for you guys, though, about the game. So, yes, a lot has been said about the defensive performance, which was superb. But do you think, because Ange showed, he even went to 5 in the back towards the end. First of all, my first question is, do you think Ange is getting enough credit for how he adjusted when they adjusted and threw extra players on, and how he did actually lock up shop and did a really good job of that? I think he took off Tell, didn't he, to bring on another defender? Isn't that what he did?
Brennan Johnson.
Sarr
came on for Tell, and then Danso came on for Brennan Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, for Johnson. So I thought he deserved a lot more credit than that. But I'm also wondering, because the game there was a little more strategic approach to the defensive side of the game, I thought, than we normally see, a little bit less gung-ho. Do you think he kind of went into it thinking, you know what, without Son, Tell is still very young, a bit inexperienced. Solanke's not been hitting the net exactly regularly recently. It's been, months. And Johnson's a good at tapping, getting in the right place, but you need the service from that, which Tell doesn't read his play yet, doesn't read his runs yet. Do you think he kind of approached the game as like, well, I don't think we're going to be scoring a lot of goals in this game? I mean, I think the first leg, we put a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah.
But do you think he had a bit of a lack of confidence in our ability to score too many goals and was looking for the odd goal and always had a plan that it might be very, very tight?
I think I'll take the first question in that I don't think he'll ever get credit from certain corners of media or fans. I just think he's very much looked at as a bit of a flat track bully and one way to play, and what he's achieved in the game is just never going to be respected by many. And I really hope that he puts a middle finger up to that in terms of we do go on to win it. So I don't know he's getting the credit he deserves. But yeah, I think there's something to that. Absolutely. I think he was very much horses for courses, right? I think he could see what we needed from that game. And really, all we needed was 1-0. So you nick a goal and then you just... And the thing about it was, when we were 1-up, it didn't scream to me that we just shut up shot flow. We didn't create a great deal, but we still were having a go. But he certainly tweaked it. And he certainly, I think, looked at our strengths. And ironically, leading into the game and the performances we've had, we haven't been great going forward. So yeah, I think that's something to it. But maybe Son being missing forced that a little bit as well, like you said, in terms of... I don't know if Son walks back into the team for the semi. Maybe he does. But
I don't think he had... I know he was involved in the goal, I think, in the first leg. But apart from that, he was pretty anonymous.
Which has been a bit of a pattern for him.
Most of the season, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I think we're comparing Son to the previous Son, which was absolutely ridiculous level of ability and talent and performance and consistency. But if you still look at a lot of the goals scored the last few months, Son has been involved either in that key pass for the build-up or the actual cross for the assist. And he's been involved in a lot of our goals or a lot of our positive play, even though he's not coming up with the end product as he normally does. So I think he's been a bit harshly criticised. I think we've got to accept that the team has struggled, so naturally he's going to struggle.
I agree. His involvement and contributions are good still. If you look at his goal contributions, they're good. But if you look at all other Ange teams, you need attacking wingers who can go either side of a player and take on a player and get him behind. And it's those cutbacks. And he has not done that for most of the season. And I think we're missing that, which is also why Solanke's not getting much service. Because he's getting in the right positions, but the balls are never coming in. We've got Brennan Johnson one side and Son the other. If you're playing like that, they will score you goals or be involved. But there's no build-up play. There's no service to Solanke from that. I think that's been an issue.
Isn't the lack of Solanke's sort of ability to make something out of nothing? I think that kind of puts a little more pressure on Son, because remember when you had Harry Kane in there, you couldn't exactly double up on Son. If you do, you're going to get punished by Kane. Solanke's not the kind who's going to punish you. So I think it's been harder for Son because all the attention from the defensive team is going to naturally go onto Son and close him down. I think he's had a lot less space to work from, and he hasn't had that ability to cut inside the way he normally does, is what I've seen. I think there's a lot more defensive bodies in there when he gets hold of the ball.
Well, and just from my point of view, also, let's be very clear with Son. If we find our way, which we hopefully will, we get to that in a sec, but into Europa League final, even if that player only features for 5 minutes, he deserves to lift that trophy as captain. Like
100%.
Everything he's given the club, you know. And I hope for his sake that we deliver something for him. Wouldn't it be quite fitting if he and Kane were both to win trophies in the same season? Even though different clubs, of course.
It would be. Yeah, it was actually a shame that Bayern Munich got knocked out. I was really
I was hoping for that. Yeah,
finish off the final, last minute, absolute heartbreaker, scored by Kane to win it against Arsenal would have been.
It's even better would be for it to go in off Eric Dyer's arse or something.
That would be lovely. Yeah.
Never mind. I just wanted to go back to something you said, Jeremy, about Son not coming inside as much and there always being too many players in there. I think one of the other problems is that our build-up play's been too ponderous and too slow. So by the time we got into those positions, they've already got all the players back behind the ball. And that's been one of the issues I've seen with us this season, that for teams where they will sit deep and put 2 banks of 4 or even more, all the players behind the ball, if we don't break quickly, which if we break quickly, there's more space for Son and more space for Brennan Johnson. But I don't think we've been doing that, and I think that's been one of the challenges for him. Maybe the reason there's so many bodies there.
And just coming back to what you said, Jeremy, about like his hands getting enough credit. One thing I now really want to see flipped and stopped, because I think it's really important that in that semi-final first leg, that we create a similar atmosphere to what the Frankfurt fans did to us. Let's make sure Bodo Glimt know that they're on our patch. This is our cauldron. We're going to make it really hard for you to try and get something here. And let's hope we just go and absolutely destroy them, because all of the talk of Angel, all of the talk of Levy out, all of the talk of lack of investment, all of the talk of no trophy, and all of that for me just has to stop now and get back to it in June if you really want to. But just this is it. We're on the cusp of something really, really special. But we're also officially safe today, by the way, after the Ipswich result. So it's one of those really weird seasons where we're on the cusp of something amazing, but yet we've been absolutely appalling in the league. So that if there's nothing more classic Spurs, I don't know what there will be.
But only Tottenham could have the worst season in 20 years, nearly get fucking relegated and lift a major European trophy. Only Tottenham could achieve that.
We went 16th this weekend. 16th.
Yeah, 16th we dropped out, which is fucking wild. And for me, there was a lot said after the Wolves game. And I found it quite interesting, and I was guilty of it too. Going into that game, we all said, dead rubber, who gives a shit? So we end up getting pumped, and then it's all of a sudden a massive jump on the back of ours, get him out, he needs to go. But for me, there was a lot said about, are the players in it? Are the players behind him? Has he lost the dressing room? Two things. When the goal went in against Frankfurt, you look at the bench. And then when the final whistle went against Frankfurt, you look at the reaction. Those two things tell me the players are very much behind him, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys see it differently, but I see a group of players there that really want to do this and are in it together. But Graham, how do you see that, mate? Because I know we've both been quite vocal about what the hell's going on at Spurs.
I'm pleased to see it. I did start to wonder whether he'd lost some of the dressing room a little bit. But I think the fact that maybe they appreciated the change in tactics. Maybe they were like, well, this is what we should have been playing like all season. Yeah. Well, at least in some games. Just something I wanted to come back to, Glenn. You mentioned about the Frankfurt atmosphere. I don't like the German stadium atmospheres. It's more like an umpire band for the whole match. And it's the same whenever Dortmund come to town as well. There's drums and it's just singing. It's completely detached from what's happening on the pitch. Yeah. So I actually prefer English stadium atmosphere because it's far more driven by what's actually happening on the pitch.
Yeah, it's a response to what they're seeing. But one thing I'll say on that, the Frankfurt fans they seemed to anyway on the face of what I could hear, there was lots of whistling and hissing when we got the ball. You know, it was a pretty tough place.
And they were throwing the Tifosi paper at the corner.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, which
so funny. But, I mean, I'm totally guilty of us doing it as well. I'll never forget the Champions League quarter-final against Man City. We had this big Tifosi in the South Stand, and I was sat on like row 6 in the South Stand. And to prepare the Tifosi, they put the card on the back of the chair and put a rubber band around it to hold it in place. So there's 18,000 rubber bands in the South Stand. So where do you think they went? They went at the goalkeeper. So I love all that stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. But Jeremy, you're going to come in there, mate. Do you have a view on like the togetherness and what we saw at the end of the game, and clearly for me being behind Ange? Or...
Couple of points. I kind of felt like we reached a point in the season where the atmosphere there actually kind of helped us. I don't think it hurt the players. It gave them the extra motivation. It kind of made it an us against them. The media's been on their backs. They've had the worst time. They've struggled through the season. But I don't think it's as vicious of an atmosphere there as it is at, let's say, Galatasaray, which is really intimidating because all you've got is that atmosphere in the stadium. So it kind of reminds the players this is a big deal. And I think it kind of helped our players a little bit to really kind of get them going. But in terms of the Ange thing, it's kind of funny because there was a bit of a social media thing going around with Van der Ven, right, being asked, why aren't you playing every week? He said, I don't know, ask the gaffer. And people are saying, like, he's not happy. He's clearly not happy. You can tell. And then after the game, there was a Van der Ven interview. We really want to lift this trophy for Ange. He didn't say, we want to lift it for us. They've all mentioned Ange. And there's been talk about rift between Maddison not liking Ange. But meanwhile, there was a video of him going down the actual tunnel after the game, arm in arm over the shoulder with Ange. And there seems to be a lot of team unity that I'm seeing coming out of the squad.
Yeah.
And as usual, all the negativity is coming from the media and, of course, the Twitter, where you've got the X amount of people who are going to be Ange out regardless of what he does. So you've got that mentality there that is looking for any reason to be negative, but the players seem to have taken on this form that we can do this, we believe. And the players have to believe in themselves, because look what we did this season alone, just to, teams like Manchester City and Villa and stuff. I mean, or was that last season with Villa?
No. 4-1. Yeah, we beat Villa.
Was that early this season, 4-1 or something like that? We destroyed them at home, right? And,
yeah. Was that this season? It wasn't it?
I'll get confused.
Yeah,
seemed like a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember the fixture. Yeah. Well, I see what you're saying. It's like we can go toe-to-toe with anybody.
With a full squad.
But that's never been in doubt, right? We said it all season. On our day, we can beat literally can beat anybody. The problem's been we've not had enough of those days. We've had big swathes of the season have been impacted by injuries, and also senior players, in my opinion, still not turning up in big matches. We've totally relied on the young players that have been subbing for them. So like the Bergvalls and the Archie Grays.
Archie Gray, yeah.
Who have been, for whatever else, maybe they're not the best in the world, although you could argue that with Bergvall at the moment, but they've been really consistent and their levels haven't dropped the whole season. But some of the more senior players in leadership positions, I felt like they have let their performances drop. And that's been a symptom of the whole season for me, and one of the reasons I think we've struggled so much, especially when we were thin on the ground.
Yeah,
well, I think that's just natural. When you got that few numbers, I mean, you remember that Europa League game when it was like, all the kids came on at the end. There was literally nobody. It was like a high school bench. I mean, there was nobody left to put on the bench even. So they came on and they did brilliantly, which was amazing to see.
Yeah,
and so it's lovely to see what we have in the future. But I don't think there's any team anywhere in the Premier League, even Liverpool or City, that would likely finish in the top 6 if they had the same level of injuries that we had. I mean, our defence, there's the first time that 5 have played together, I think, since October or November.
Yeah.
I mean, that, at the back, that is, the keeper and the 4 defenders. So that just hasn't happened. We haven't had the luxury. And then they've come back. Players are coming back from injury. We think, oh, good, they're back. But they take a bit of time to get up to speed. They've got to feel their touch again. They've got to get up to match speed and match fitness. It's very different being 100% fit to start and being at your peak match fitness.
And even when we went twice where they did come back and then were out again almost immediately. So it's been very stop-start.
Well,
it was a reintroduction.
And before we move on, because I want Graham to do a little bit of a piece on Bodo Glimt and the history, because your notes are great, and I want you to speak to them. But before you do that, going back to something Jeremy said, yes, I hadn't really considered that they would use that atmosphere in Frankfurt for their benefit. And like you said, Jeremy, it probably played a little bit into, fuck, this is a big deal. Like, Nicholas means to them, like, let's get the rally result. So that drove them on. But yeah, look, onwards, a huge, huge result. Let's just keep doing that in the big moments. And then one thing I'll say as well, he's been asked, I think the press conference ahead of Forest, essentially by a reporter, will you be playing the kids? And of course, classic ad, I've been playing the kids all season, mate. You've got to love it. But I'll be interested to see what we get in the Forest game as far as the selection. But before we move on to that, because Graham, you're going to be going, tell us about Bodo Glimt. It's going to be daylight there, isn't it? At 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, all for the entire game. I know of them only because I've seen them in Europa League results over the years. I don't think we've ever played them before. Founded in 1916, so they're actually quite an old club, especially for a Scandinavian club. They play at the Aspmyra Stadium, capacity 7,400. So that's not that big. The manager is Oh, here we go. So apologies to all of our Norwegian listeners. Kjetil Knutsen.
Yeah.
That's as much as I'm going to manage. He's been there for like 8 years, so he's
It's been a while, yeah.
yeah. They domestic achievements. They've won the league for the last 4 years, and the Norwegian Cup winners going. Oh no, so 2020, 21, 23, and 24. And Norwegian Cup winners in 75 and 93. Bodo is the town. Glimt, I think, means like glimmer. So it's a sort of, I don't know.
Maybe
Bodo
Northern
glimmer.
Light. And
Maybe something to do with the Northern Lights. So who
Yeah,
knows?
there you go.
Yeah. So it's in Northern County, which is in north of the Arctic Circle. So even in May, when we go there, the average temperature at night is around 3 degrees. It's still pretty chilly. And also, because it's close to the Arctic Circle, sunrise is at 3 a.m. and sunset is at 11 p.m. around the time that the match will be played. So pretty much everything, unless we go to extra time penalties, and we have like 40 penalties, it's going to be daylight. And it's a plastic pitch.
Yeah, plastic pitch, right? And I do think that plays into a lot of their home form. It's a bastard to go and play on. I just hope that we'll do a full preview of the game in a bit, like another session, but another episode. I hope we've got enough in the tank in the first leg to not have to worry about the second leg. I really do. And one other point is, 400 fans we expect to be able to travel there because of the allocation?
It's usually about 10%, right? It's around that. So
Yeah,
it's going to be a pretty small showing.
should be pretty interesting.
Like one plane full.
Yeah, indeed. Well,
Now, is this another case where our bizarrely crappy season is actually going to come together to help us? We've got the whole squad back. And remember, the FA Cup, who was it? Was it Tamworth we played, who had the 3G pitch? All right, so now the players have experience on that. We know a little bit more about it. And maybe that miserable cup tie that we all remember scraping through will actually come back to help us to lift this European trophy. That's what I'm thinking.
We've also got a full 4G pitch at the training ground. The indoor pitch is 4G as well. So so we can at least train on it, same surface.
That's cool.
Well, bringing it back around to a game that's very much going to be played on grass. Monday night in the UK, Monday lunchtime in Denver, 5 a.m. in Melbourne on Tuesday morning. But Graham, you're going to be going, aren't you?
Yes, I'm probably driving this time because I don't trust the trains most of the time, but specifically on a bank holiday Monday. I feel like there's a recipe for delays and bus replacement services that I'm not willing to chance. So I'm probably going to drive out to Theobald's Grove and get the train in from there to White Hart Lane. So I'm going with a friend of mine, Alex. He's one of our subscribers. He's a Brazilian guy that I work with. So he's been to a couple of games with me. So looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Monday night games, I've got to be honest. But
we haven't had one this season. Is that the first one
No, the first one. But the only good thing is I'm off all week. This is my second week of vacation back to back. Because of the long weekend, I used a few days to make a nice long fortnight break. So I don't have to go to work on Tuesday. So I know I'll get back late, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's not a problem.
And Jeremy, that'll be a Monday lunch. If memory serves, you close the shop on a Monday. Do you still do that?
Yep, we're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. Yep, so Monday, no problem for me. I'll be watching the game from home.
What do we think as far as the team he picks? Like, Jeremy, what do you reckon happens here? Do you think he does fix it up and wrap the likes of Van der Ven and Romero in cotton wool, and just with that semi-final first leg not too far away? I mean, do you see a... Well, he says he's...
No, I don't.
You think he'd play them?
I think my opinion of what he should do, and well, some of the media are saying, they're going to be switching it up, Davis coming in, etc. I think that'd be a huge mistake. Our season's been a disaster, and I think we need to close the season out strongly. And he of all people, needs to send a message to the board, the fans, everything, that this team has got what it takes to go forward next season. So in my opinion, Forest is a team that's flying high right now. They're competing for top 4. I would be very surprised if he doesn't play a full-strength team and look to win this game. Maybe Romero drops out, he gets rested, and maybe Danso comes in. But I would imagine Van der Ven will start again, because he hasn't started 2 games in a week for a long time. He's clearly shown he can handle the sprints. He had to do a couple of those on Thursday. And we don't have a game this Thursday, so we actually have the luxury of not having to worry about too much. And we've had an extra day's rest. So for me, there is absolutely no reason to worry about anything other than whoever's got a knock. And I think Maddison's out already, isn't he? And who else is out?
Yeah,
That's it, really. I mean, other than the one we know about.
Madison, Son, and Dragosin are the three that.
Dragosin, we know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I would imagine Spence will come in maybe for
Horo, maybe.
I would
or
think Udogie, because he's just come back from injury, full on, and he's just played. He just played 2 games in a week.
For me, that's still the strangest decision for both the Frankfurt games, was dropping Spence for both those games. Because in my opinion, he's been our best defender this year since the start of the year. So it was a bit of a weird one, but you can't not. He got the result, right? So I'm not. It's easy to be. With hindsight, it looks like a great decision, but for me, I would have played that.
That's a really interesting and a good perspective from you, Jeremy, there, because I think I haven't really looked at it like that with the feeling of with next season in mind, and doesn't really have much credit in the bank after the season that's been to just bin it off and lose again and lose again and lose again, but win Europa. So yeah, maybe he will mix it up, but not drastically, especially with the fact we don't have a game after. And also, one thing to point out, Forest are flying high, but there's a bit of a caveat with this. They got an FA Cup semi-final a few days later. They've got Man City in the Cup semi-final. So
when is that?
That's the Sunday. So they play us on the Monday night, and they're playing on the Sunday.
Okay, so they have one eye on that.
They
won't. I don't think they'll worry too much about that because they've got a full week and they're going for top 4 as much as anything. So if they were in 10th place, it might play into it. But where they are, I don't think it'll play into it. And Nuno, he wants to come and prove a point. He wants to come and show us, and we can't allow that to happen. Cannot let that happen.
Yeah, I think there's a good point. I just wonder what we see. Like, I just wonder what we see. Does he mix it up? Does he bring in Archie Gray to play in the holding role and give Bentancur a rest? Does he drop? Mind you, Solanke probably needs to play to get some confidence, right? Score again. I think Odegaard may be in for Johnson, but these aren't bad players, right? The players that we're talking about have actually done quite well for us over when they've been used. So it's kind of a nice luxury to look at the changes he might make and know that he's able to make them and that they're very competent players. I think Kulusevski may start because I think he needs...
Yes, he will.
I thought he looked a bit rusty on Thursday. He looked like he hasn't got full match fitness yet. He probably needs some game time.
Sure.
Well, I touched on it earlier.
I think the interesting thing is, I think as you said, we haven't got a game Thursday, so we play tomorrow night, and then we have next game's next Sunday, which is the Liverpool game, and that is 4 days before.
You got to tell Jeremy the story of your comment. It's so funny.
So I think someone said that they basically Liverpool can win the league next weekend playing us, and I said we'll basically, because it's like the weekend before the Bodo Glimt first game. I said we should put the under 15 team out to do a Guard of Honour for
the kids. And your comment got like a ridiculous amount of likes.
It's had like nearly 750 likes on Twitter. It was just a throwaway comment at the time, but yeah. I think so. So then, and the game between the Bodo Glimt legs is West Ham away as well. So we've got two away games. I don't. Yeah.
This isn't a West Ham podcast, obviously, but what's happened to them? They were actually looking all right under Potter. They've like fallen off a cliff. Like they were getting some decent results.
Yeah, who cares?
They're 17th. We're 16th, but yeah.
Are they 17th?
Yeah, they're 17th, mate. Again, like we've talked about this, we would be in the mire as well. If the teams below in the bottom 3 weren't as crap as they are, West Ham, Spurs, Man United would all be in a relegation fight.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I look. If we finish above United and win Europa League, I'm happy this season. That's all there is to it.
I'll be far happier as well if Arsenal don't win the Champions League.
That would be too fine too.
Yeah.
But I really want to see us go for it against Forest and against Liverpool. I'd love to see us get a result against Liverpool. I don't think we have to worry about Arsenal catching them. There's a 10-point gap. It's not going to happen. There's no way.
No.
So I think we need to absolutely go for it, and imagine the confidence it will give the fans, everybody, if we could pull off results against Forest and Liverpool and show everyone that with our team, with our squad, look how bloody good we are. Now spend some money, the people upstairs, Levy and co, and get us the rest of the squad we need so that injuries will not be an issue next season. And then we can kick on, hopefully. That's
a good way of looking at it. Positive way of looking at it. Well, any predictions from us all for the game? I'll start. I think Forest, I think it's got a score draw all over it, but I think it'll be like something mental, like 3-3. Graham, you're going to be there. You got a view, mate, on what happens?
I'm not. I've got to admit, they're like the anti-Ange team, right?
Yeah.
They are the sit deep and hit you on the counter very quickly team, which and if you remember, was it Boxing Day,
Yeah, we lost, yeah.
the away game? It was horrific to watch. When you know exactly what Ange's teams are going to do, and you've got a team that can play like that with two very fast wide players and a striker that's always going to get in the box, I've got a horrible feeling we're going to lose tomorrow.
You'll be there to see it.
Yeah,
But
I think about 2-1 Forest.
Will we get a lap of honour for avoiding relegation? That is the question.
It'd be interesting to see. Like, the last game of the season is Brighton at home, right?
Yeah.
So it will either be the best of times or the worst of times, right? So if we've won something, and then there's a parade around the ground, it would be great. If we haven't and we finish 16th or 17th or something like that, it might be like the 400-metre sprint around the track and then out as quick as they can.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that because the Brighton home game and the last game of the season is after the Europa League final, of course. So yes,
So they could literally walk around with a trophy.
Yeah, oh mate, I bloody hope so. Jeremy, mate, you prediction for Forest, you're going to be watching it at home. So what do you reckon is going to happen, mate? Sounds like you think we're going to get the win and play a strong team.
I do, but I've been an optimist for many, many years, and it hasn't come to anything. So, take that with a grain of salt. But didn't we only lose 1-0 on the away leg?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could have been a lot worse, though.
Yeah, it could have been worse. But remember, we'd had nobody in there. I mean, that was at our worst point, and they were flying. We only lost 1-0. I actually think a lot of it depends on if we score an early goal or not. And if we score a goal in the first half of the first half, I think we're going to win it 3-1. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
If we do not score in the first half, then I think we're probably looking a lot tighter and maybe 2-1 win at the end. But I think we're going to win. I think we're going to have just enough to beat them because we have got the quality now that they're all fit.
Yeah, fair point. Well, as I mentioned, and one point of clarity, by the way, because we weren't sure, that Villa game, it was this season. We did win that game 4-1 this season. So we were
brilliant in that game.
Yeah.
We played a few brilliant games. With our squad, we're brilliant. But Graham, I have a question for you, though. And Glenn, you said something which kind of prompted this. So we were talking about the atmosphere in Frankfurt and how it may have helped the team. I have felt a lot of the time on the big games at the lane, and I'm watching from TV, so Graham, I need your input here. It has felt like the atmosphere has been very flat, like there's too many tourists in the crowd or the crowd are just too anxious, whatever it is. There wasn't that usual sort of driving the team noise that we used to hear at the old lane. So how has it been for you? And does the atmosphere make the players more edgy on a big game? Whereas in Frankfurt, hearing that, they kind of felt a little bit more freedom because their fans weren't on edge. What did you think?
Interesting. I think it's a little bit of everything that you said. I think that the stadium has a much higher percentage of tourists. They just call them football tourists. People who are there for the occasion, not necessarily who will go regularly. And I'm not differentiating between UK or international for that. For me, it doesn't matter if they're not the people that are in the regular seats. So I've had a number of times I've been to games this season, and hardly anyone in the block around me is the regular season ticket holder. So I think that even the people who are complaining about all the tourists are the ones putting their tickets on the exchange, who are then getting bought by the tourists. So I think that's not helped the atmosphere. I think the run of shit results has really not helped either. There's a lot of bad feeling. I think very much, I would say, up until fairly recently, it was kind of like it started off as a sort of 80-20 for and against, and it gradually got closer to about 50-50, I would have said, really tight. And then I think I remember going to the Frankfurt game. I chose to a different seat in a different area rather than my regular. So I was in the corner of the south stand and the east stand, so kind of above where the shelf is. And the atmosphere was so toxic, really toxic. And to the point where when we discussed the match afterwards, myself and Glenn, our on the game was like polar opposite.
Yeah.
And for me, it felt like a terrible match with awful performances, because I was kind of almost like the atmosphere around me completely affected how I saw the game. I always say there's a group of like Tourette's supporters who are literally effing and blinding constantly, and like people, they were almost fighting, like blue on blue fighting in the seats next to me. And I was like, this is in an area block with hardly any people in it. So like, because it's obviously not completely sold out. So I was really surprised at the atmosphere. And I think I think the new stadium has issues with the crowd anyway. I think people are a bit moved around the stadium. They're trying to find somewhere that feels right still. I think a lot of groups of people that would have historically sat together in the old stadium didn't get that opportunity in the new stadium. So everything's been a bit dispersed. And I don't think that helps either. I mean, like the South Stand there's a corporate band in the middle of it. Of the people who are paying £2,500 for their season tickets so that they can have a drink at half time. And that's not so it kind of splits. I don't know. The home atmosphere has not been great since the stadium opened. I would say
I think that has to play. That has to play pretty heavily on the players. You know, they feel that tension, that edginess. But did you see a change in the atmosphere or the feelings between the first half and the second half of the Frankfurt? Because the second half, we got on top of them, and we were like, I mean, they seemed to me from watching on TV, the crowd finally got to see the real Spurs this season and got behind them. Was that a massive change?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things for is that everyone always says we need to roll the team on. But actually, I think they've done a lot of that this season, and now they're waiting for the team to give them something to chant about. So I think that hasn't helped, because there hasn't been that many opportunities to do that because of how we've been playing. But that second half against Frankfurt, there was a marked change in the atmosphere. Even the Tourette's people suddenly were cured for a period, and then so it was much, much better in the second half. But even the second half, there was still one way would pass and they were back. You know, it was pretty bad. So yeah, I still think there's an issue, and it's something that we talked about when we had David Jen on as well, about the international supporters who are coming over, who they come, and I don't have an issue with people coming to watch the game, but we maybe need to indoctrinate them before they get here as to, when you're here, these are the things that that's going to happen, and you need to get involved. So maybe that as well. Yeah, we'd start off with that. So we'll give them the tour. So you arrive, do the mega store, go to the pub, and then come and sing. And that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're exhausted from all the pre-match stuff. They haven't got any energy left by the time the game comes.
Indeed.
So maybe they're all sung out from singing around on the concourse with one of the live acts that's playing before the match.
Oh my God! So on that atmosphere thing, if I can, one more thing. I've seen some of the comments for some of the chat groups I'm on, and one of the comments from one of the guys was they actually almost, they didn't say completely, but they said they almost don't want to see Ange succeed in the Europa League because they want him out. And they're worried that if Ange wins the cup, he'll stay. And they don't want that. That to me is absolutely toxic and mental for one. But I mean, what are you hearing? Because you're on the ground there, Graham, and Glenn, you're immersed with everything. I mean, it seems to be there's a real split here. Are there some fans that are just not even supporting the idea of Ange lifting a trophy?
I think there were people who would literally cut off their noses to spite their face. They would rather be miserable and not win it. There definitely are people like that. I'm not saying it's the majority. I mean, I still think, I'm still not 100% sure irrespective of what happens in the Europa League, that he's back next season. I don't know for sure. I'd be on the fence on that. I wouldn't, if he came back, would be the end of the world for me. But my worry is we cannot afford to start next season like we have played this season, because it will be too late to do something about it. So if we do a Juan de Ramos 2 points from 8 matches run, by then the window will be closed. The opportunity to get a good manager will probably have passed. And
we'll find Harry's always available. Harry is always available.
2 points from 8 games.
Yeah.
In Yeah.
From my point of view, I mean, that's just an absolute bonkers thing to even consider from my perspective. I would just never... And it doesn't surprise me that a lot of those fans that are pretty vehemently Angel and are having that view are probably Levy out as well. And look, we don't have to find
everything out.
everything out, right? But to suggest that you wouldn't want a European trophy based on that you don't like the manager, fuck hell. But I can actually see it completely the other way too. And his character, I can see us winning it and then just say, there you go, I'm out. Enjoy. I could see that happening too. I really could.
I don't think so. He sees a project here that has to be completed.
Hopefully.
How much do you think? I know I've been thinking about this for a while, actually. You remember early on, there's a whole big thing about Ange saying he always wins a trophy in his second season. He said that. He made that clear. Now, there's something about making things happen, creating that reality. Manifestation. And he has put that into the minds of these players. They know Ange always wins a trophy in his second season. So my hope is that they're not thinking, the normal, if it wasn't Ange, it was somebody else, the only message would be Tottenham haven't won for like 20 seasons, whatever it is. Tottenham haven't won anything since whenever. Tottenham don't win anything. Tottenham are bottlers. The message today, though, is Ange always wins this second season. That's the prevailing thought, I think. And I think that's got to play something on the players' minds and give them belief. Do you think that can help us get over the line?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there's clearly, right, because you look at the end of the Frankfurt game and you look at the response of the players around Ange. So 100%, I think that has certainly played into, let's do this and let's do it off the base of that alone. So yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a positive. Graham, do you have a view on that, mate?
I think it might work within the dressing room.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that the supporters are being carried along with that messaging at the moment still. I think that we'll take the wins, but I'm not sure that they're convinced yet. I'm just going on the general sentiment around the stadium and in the concourses and walking down the high street afterwards. There's not a lot of positivity about him.
As long as the players don't care and it's in the dressing room and they believe, then it can happen. The fans can believe all we like. We've been believing for years and nothing's ever happened from it. We need the players to believe. And if they believe that, then I think the fans will come around. We've never been the issue. But we're used to negativity. It's been programmed into us. So to have that positivity coming from someone like Ange, who does believe in himself regardless, and to see that happening with the players, as we saw in Frankfurt, I just think it's really positive. I'm pretty convinced we are going to win this trophy. I really have very, very strong belief it'll happen.
Well, my strong belief is that we're certainly going to be in the final because I've booked a bloody Airbnb for even myself, or maybe Graham's a bit closer and he may go out to Bilbao. So I'm just edging my bets on when to pull the trigger on flights, and it all comes down to a match ticket for me as well because I'm coming a bloody long way away. It's 10,000 miles. But I wouldn't disagree with that sentiment. But yeah, it's lovely for me, and I'm sure Graham and you, Jeremy, the season isn't over, and that's where it was heading towards, right? If we'd lost to Frankfurt and we're out, then it's just all of a sudden you just want the season done. And now we've got Bodo Glimt in the semi-final, which we should win, and then we're in a final with a major European trophy.
I honestly, if you look at their run of fixtures, I think we're going to struggle to get points in the league.
Yeah,
for the next few games. So actually, the Europa's a nice distraction. It does remind me very much of the Champions League.
Champions League, yeah.
Because we were absolutely horrific in the league from about January onwards, and so the only thing that kept us going then was we were still in the Champions League all the way to the final, and it feels a little bit like that now as well. I mean, Thursday was the opportunity. It would have been the season end if we'd have lost.
Well, totally.
We've got nothing else to play for.
Just one final thing on that. Can we wear green again? Because magic seems to happen when we wear green in Europe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, indeed. Well, I didn't have a great deal else to cover, but I'll let Graham close us out officially in a moment. But as always from me, thanks for tuning in. Jeremy, thanks for coming on as our guest. We will absolutely get you on again. And from me, as always, come on, you Spurs.
Thanks to everyone who's listened in. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And as Glenn said, come on, you Spurs.
You can contact us on email at tottenhamhomeandaway@gmail.com or on Twitter X at TottenhamH&A.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.